humans, it's Hannah. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, I do videos on creepy and disturbing things usually, but today's video is going to be a 100,000 subscriber celebration video, and it's going to be a Q&A. I honestly cannot believe that I was making my 10K Q&A video just a couple of months ago. My mind is absolutely blown. It doesn't feel real, etc., etc. Obviously, thank you guys so much. Just a note, if you want to see whenever I get my silver 100,000 subscriber play button, you know, the little plaques that YouTube sends you, I've heard it takes quite a while to actually get it because they have so many channels to review and everything. But if you want to see me do a little unboxing of that, follow me over on Instagram here, because I will post a reel on Instagram whenever that happens of me doing the unboxing for that. So go follow me over there. Okay, we're gonna get right into this Q&A. I'm gonna go as fast as I can. This might be a lot of rapid fire questions because, as you can imagine, with 90,000 more people, I got a lot more questions than last time, but I really want to answer them all. I get weird about not answering them all, so I will try to get to as many as possible. So this is going to be kind of a rapid fire Q&A. I'm going to try to go as fast as I can. There's a jump around menu down below. Is there any ARG that has really impressed you, and would you ever consider doing an in-depth deep dive into older ARGs? My favorite ARGs are still Daisy Brown and Ash Vlogs. I kind of talked about that in the other video, but I love any ARG that's actually creative and has a really solid storyline and isn't just kind of like people taking ominous footage in the woods and then putting like binary code underneath it with like 2 words and no actual plot, if that makes sense. And to answer your second question, no, probably not like super in-depth long videos like documentary style covering giant ARGs, just because Nightmind is a great channel. He does really, really wonderful recap videos and he goes really in depth. And I don't know, I guess I'm not interested in doing it that in depth, but I guess you never know. Who knows? Maybe someday. If you could have a sit-down interview with a serial killer, dead or alive, who would it be, and what is one question that you'd ask them? I totally understand the intention of this question, and I totally appreciate it. I totally get where you're coming from. However, I think the answer is none of them. I just feel like it would feed that. I know that we have a fascination in the psychology of serial killers, and trust me, I definitely do. Nobody has a bigger fascination than me, obviously. But I feel like asking to interview or talk to one of them gives them the satisfaction that we're fascinated with them. Like, I just don't think they deserve that attention. So that being said, I'll answer your question in a different way. I would like to meet the victim, one of the surviving victim of Richard Speck's crimes. I'm not going to get into the story, obviously you can look it up, but her name is Corazon Amurio, and she survived his vicious attack in an amazing way. Go read the story. It's really, really sickening though. And I would just want to ask her how the hell she had the courage to hide and just to persevere in spite of what was going on around her. What's one of your favorite videos that you've made? I said this in the other one, but clown sightings video. I made a little documentary on the clown sightings and I'm super proud of that video, even though it never really hit right with the audience, but whatever. The other one I really like is my tree panning video and trepanation. I thought that video was just so fascinating. And again, it didn't really hit the way I thought it would, but that's okay. I really enjoyed making them. What has stayed with you and creeped into your life on a regular basis? As in like reading, the question is like, if after reading and like reading all of these horrible stories all the time, like how does it make you act differently in your normal life? I will say when I'm out walking my dog every day, I am so paranoid of strangers. I do not trust anyone. I assume, rather than like assume everybody's kind until they prove otherwise, I assume everybody is a murderer and has bad intentions until they prove otherwise. I don't trust anybody that I don't know. Any experiences with the glitch in the Matrix? Not really. The only thing that I can kind of say is that when I was a little kid and my sister and I were playing with Barbies in the living room, my Ken doll, like one of my Ken dolls just like moved. I looked over and his arm just like went and we were nowhere near it. That could be a false memory. Maybe I'm just totally forgetting or like not remembering correctly. My sister will have to tell me if she remembers that. But I remember being so freaked out and telling my mom, and like they were just like, oh, you sure? Or maybe, I don't know, maybe it was just a malfunction with the Ken doll, but I don't know about you, but I have never seen a Barbie move its arm on its own. Whew, so that's probably as close to a glitch in the Matrix that I have ever experienced. I got a lot of questions from you guys about how do you not let these topics affect your mental health and your state. I'm really good at compartmentalizing it. I'm just so desensitized to the stuff now because I'm so immersed in it that when I'm off, when I'm not working on it, I just kind of turn it off and I don't think about it. I don't know how else to explain it. I never look at this stuff right before bed. I always do something super lighthearted before bed, watch a sitcom, play games on my iPad, stuff like that. That really helps me just separate from it. What's your favorite topic that you've covered so far? So this is not my favorite video, but my favorite actual topic, I guess, would be probably Crashbox. That one was really, really fun because I never watched that show as a kid and it was very similar to Candle Cove. I just thought that one was really interesting. Any bizarre nostalgia that makes you go, oh my God, I remember that from when I was a kid, like that's got like a creepy element to it. That's probably my favorite stuff. I have fun all the way through those videos. Making, the research, filming, and editing of those are just really fun. Why did you decide to start making videos? I got some variation of this from a lot of you guys. After lots of research, I watched YouTube so much, and after a lot of research, realized that once I found out that you didn't need millions of subscribers to make a good living off of it, and I thought that was only for like really big millions and millions of subscriber channels, but you can actually make a decent amount of money, you're not rich by any means, but you can make a normal income off of far less than that. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. Loie Lane was another big inspiration. I was like binging her channel and I found myself really wanting to reply to her. Like I wanted to say like, but what about this? And give my opinions. And I just love talking so much that I was like, I should just make my own videos. And overall, it's just a topic. Creepy and disturbing things, paranormal things, true crime. I could cover those and read about those topics for literally forever. And there's endless possibilities to talk about. I could talk about them forever and ever and ever, and I would never get bored of it. So I knew that was going to be a good choice for a channel. What's your take on horror in video games? I don't play video games, so I have no opinion on that. What is the most disturbing thing that has ever happened to you? I got variations of this question like across the board. So many people wanted to know this. So short story time. One time I was driving, I live in Washington and I live away from Seattle, but I would happen to be in Seattle at the time. And it was like, I don't know if it was the middle of the night, it was really late. I was driving home from a friend's house and I started being followed by these two boys that were, I just noticed somebody was tailgating me and they were tailgating me so hardcore, I thought they were going to crash into me, and I could look in my rearview window and they were laughing and thought that it was funny. And I was terrified. I had my phone in my hand ready to call 911 because I knew they were following me because I would turn and they would turn. They did this for blocks. I stopped at a light and a girl next to me in her car rolled her eyes at them and was trying to make me feel a little better. And to this day, I really appreciate her, but I was ready to start crying. They scared me so much and they thought it was so funny. It makes me so mad to this day. I pulled over because I was like, I am gonna pull over. If they pull over too, I'm locking my doors and I'm calling the cops or I'm gonna drive off. I finally pulled over and they drove off. Thank God. That was the one moment I thought that was it. That was the time I was going to get abducted or hurt or something. And I have never been so angry in my life, and I have never experienced sexism like that in my life before. I mean, all us women and people that identify as women have experienced sexism in some way, I can almost guarantee you. But like, I had never experienced it in a way where they specifically saw me, I was a vulnerable woman alone in my car, and they would not have done that to a guy. I can promise you. They were looking for a girl to scare, and they thought it was so funny while I'm humiliated and terrified and literally think that they're going to kill me or worse, and they think it's funny. That was definitely by far the creepiest, most horrifying thing that's ever happened to me. I will never forget it. And it's awful. Any subjects you want to cover but feel like they've already been done to death? Yeah, all the time. A lot of ARGs, like I wanted to do I Am Sophie. I thought that was a really cool ARG, but it had just been covered so much. I just didn't have anything to add to it. And probably also marble hornets. There's been a lot of videos on that, but I'm getting so many requests from you guys for that one that I think I will probably have to make a video on that at some point. If you were able to be on a crime show, which would you choose and why? Dexter, because that's my favorite crime show, and I just find Dexter so fascinating because it's like he's such an anti-hero, and it's like it's so hard. Like, is vigilante justice that bad? Like, is it bad that he's probably saving a lot of lives by killing these few people? Like, I love that moral dilemma throughout the entire show. I know people hate the ending, but I personally, I mean, yeah, I go back and forth on the ending, but I'm very excited for the revival as well. I will, you guys, yeah. First true crime case that captured your mind and thoughts and why. I got a lot of questions like this as well. I think I answered this in my 10K video, but Vampire Clan and the true story that it's based on, I did a video on that if you want to watch it. But I think that one really sent me down the rabbit hole of just like true crime and why people do crap like that. What got you into creepy things, seeing as you're a skeptic of the paranormal? In terms of the paranormal, probably because I grew up in a place that is pretty close to a very quote unquote haunted area. I don't want to get too specific because I don't want to reveal too close to where I live. I would drive up and down this road that was near this haunted place all the time, and this road is very well known. It's very windy, and it's very well known for having people die from drunk driving on it. So there's just like crosses all down the road, so that gives it a really creepy vibe. And if you drive on that road at night, it just feels like at any moment a ghost will come out at you. And so that's like the closest thing to I've experienced to feeling weird or kind of feeling like there was a presence, but never, of course, I've never seen anything legit. That I'm still a skeptic about paranormal, but that's probably what got me really interested in that stuff. Okay, gotta go faster, guys, sorry. If you could go back in time and watch any one horror or normal movie when it was in theaters, what movie would you choose? Probably the first Saw movie, and I know I never would have when it came out in theaters because I was not watching horror movies at that time. I was still in my big fraidy cat phase, but I would love to experience the ending of Saw in a theater full of people. I think that would be, I bet that was an experience. What kind of music do you like? I answered this in my 10K, so if you want a more thorough answer with pictures and stuff, you can look there, but short answer is The Grateful Dead and Billie Eilish. Somebody else asked what's my favorite actual album of my favorite band, and Grateful Dead, the live Terrapin Station 3 CD set by far. I can listen to that one forever. What's your favorite horror movie based on a true story? Probably The Conjuring, even though, don't come at me, I think Ed and Lorraine Warren are full of it. I think that their whole entire thing is a lie, but that's the skeptic in me, and I still find that movie particularly fascinating. I find the Annabelle doll extremely fascinating as well. Anything in horror films or horror footage that is too much for you? Animals. I think that's probably pretty obvious by this point. Anything that involves cruelty to animals, I refuse to watch it. I can handle animal death if it's not too violent or graphic, and I usually need to look it up before I watch the movie, but I hate anything that focuses on animal stuff. If there's a case I'm covering with animals in it, I will really, really, really briefly gloss over it, or I won't include it at all because I don't like talking about it. Do you plan on playing any horror games and making videos on them? I think they mean like playing Bloody Mary or like the elevator rituals and like making videos on it. The answer is no, just because I'm not a vlog style channel, so I don't think that would be in my niche enough. I will say someday I'm going to do a haunted tour of the United States. It's absolutely going to happen. And I mean, like, I'm going to tour the US and stay in only haunted hotels because I am determined to see something. And I'll probably vlog about that, hopefully, if assuming YouTube's still thriving, and probably do Ouija boards and stuff like that while I'm doing that. Yeah, that'll happen someday. So yeah, so, you know. Which horror movie is overrated and which one is underrated? I love this question. Overrated, the Poughkeepsie Tapes. Dumbest movie of all time. Awful acting. Just, I could not believe people were scared of that movie, that thought it was real. I can understand people being scared. It is a creepy movie, but the acting just ruined it for me. There were so many plot holes. It was just, I think that movie's bad. Also, Paranormal Activity is overrated. In my opinion, I was bored to tears watching that movie. I thought that was also just bleh. Underrated, I think a movie called The Uninvited. It was one of the first horror movies that I watched, and it's the one with Emily Brown, or Emily Browning, I think is her name, in it. And that has such a great like twist ending too. I think that movie's underrated. I think it's beautiful and artistic, and I'm not sure why it's not more popular. What's the creepiest thing you've read that was true and stayed on your mind for days afterwards? I can't really tell you because it involves animals, and it's something I heard about animal cruelty, and I refuse to. I'm not going to trigger you all by saying that because it's absolutely horrible, but that one I wish I had never heard, and it stuck with me for so long. So I'll give you the second thing. Probably when I learned about like ISIS and the cartel were a fan of taking videos of their victims. I'll be vague, but you get what I'm saying. When I found out that they actually did that as a revenge tactic, that's like the first time I really learned. I probably learned that when I was about a teenager, and that's probably the first time that I really lost some innocence and realized how truly cruel humans can be. A couple of you asked me about pets. Yes, I have a dog named Winnie, and then somebody asked me to tell us some things about your dog, so I'll do that and I'll go get her so you guys can meet her. She hates it when I film. She's scared of the umbrella lights that I have to cover the lights. She hates it. She hates strangers. She's a Shih Tzu Terrier mix, and she's from a shelter, so I don't know exactly what she is. She's 4 years old, and she is super duper cuddly. The Shih Tzu in her definitely rings out when you're cuddling with her. It's very sweet, and my parents turn into big softies. They totally love her. I'll go get her. Let me take my... Oh no, she's so sleepy. I'm sorry. She hates me right now. She hates me right now. Okay. She was sleeping. She's very mad. She's like, this is Winnie. Can you say hi? Can you say hi to everybody? She's like, no, I honest to God hate you. It's kind of hard to see her, so this is her. Oh, what a sweet baby angel. Yeah, so okay, that's probably enough. We should probably let her go. Do you want to go back to bed? Okay, sorry. Oh, she laid down on the floor next to me. Sorry. Everybody wanted to meet you though, you're famous. Do you have anything that you collect or find cool? No, I'm not really a collector. I am a huge fan of getting rid of things and not having anything more than I need. I guess I could say glassy babies though. I have like 5 or 6 of those. Glassy babies are these candles. The candle that's always in my videos. I have like 5 or 6 of these in different colors. They're actually they're like $50 candle holders. They're all handmade and they're all different. So they're a whole thing here. If you could resolve any one unsolved case, what would it be? I mean, obviously Gabby Petito, because that's what we're all thinking about and talking about right now. If I had the power to solve that really quick, I definitely would. But other than her, probably Kenika, I think, oh shit, I probably said her name wrong. Kanika? I think it's Kanika. Kanika Jenkins. And I covered this in the iceberg video, the one where there's video of her getting locked into a freezer in one of the hotels when she was intoxicated and they found her dead there. I just think there's more to the story. I don't think that it was some bizarre accident, just because those freezers are made for people to easily get out of them. Like, they're safe mechanisms for people to escape easily. So I just think there's something missing there. And I would want to know the truth about that one. What is your favorite horror movie, and do you play games or do stuff other than YouTube? I just play app games. I'm not a gamer. First-person shooter games stress me out too much. I don't like when a character can die in video games. I don't like that. So no, I don't play those. My favorite horror movie, probably, like I said earlier, The Uninvited, just because that's one I could watch over and over again. And that's usually when I consider a movie, quote unquote favorite, is one that you could sit down and watch a lot and enjoy it. I really like Silence of the Lambs, even though some parts of it obviously didn't age well. I still think it's a pretty brilliant movie for its time. Outside of YouTube, I hang out with my mom and my friends. I watch a lot of YouTube. I really enjoy baking, but like normal boring stuff. Nothing, I don't have some secret talent that's super exciting, sorry. What YouTubers do you follow and which ones would you like to collab with? I actually follow a lot of non-creepy YouTubers. I don't actually watch a ton of creepy YouTube, just because when you do creepy YouTube, you end up comparing yourself too much to them. But I will say I watch pretty much every April Lauren video. I love her vlogs. She is just so sweet and inspirational. I just think she's just the sweetest person ever. I watch every single one of her videos. Let's see, what else do I watch? I watch Jamie French, Smokey Glow, Kate Kavanaugh, Brittany Vassar, Selena Spooky Boo, Fairyland Cottage, Spooky Astronauts. I really wish Primink would come back. So sad. I used to just binge his videos like no other. For my dream collabs, probably Loey Lane or Nexpo. I am nowhere near Nexpo's level of editing though, so obviously that will never happen. But Loey Lane and I feel like we make kind of more similar videos, and I would love to, even if we don't collab, I would just love to meet her one day, because I just think she's also a really cool person. She represents the confidence that I definitely lack. So, I mean, and of course, like Bailey Sarian would also be pretty much a dream come true. Again, just people I'd want to meet. I don't even need to collab with them. Just meeting them would be really awesome. What would your younger self think of you being a YouTuber now, especially about the topics? Little Hannah wouldn't know what YouTube was because it wasn't around till I was like 14. But she would think I was crazy about the topics because little Hannah was scared of everything and couldn't watch anything scary. I had a very active imagination, so yeah. What kind of things and stories and media do you like outside of creepy stuff? Shows I watch over and over: Gilmore Girls, How I Met Your Mother, The Good Place, Modern Family, Friends, New Girl, like those kind of funny, lighthearted shows I really like having on in the background while I work or do other stuff. Funny movies that I could watch over and over again: Office Space, Young Frankenstein, Bubble Boy, Raising Arizona, I feel like is really underrated. And Coen Brothers movies are like big in my family. quote those kind of movies all the time. Podcasts, I think the best podcast I've ever listened to was a mini series called S-Town. If you haven't listened to that, give it a go. It's a really well-made podcast. I also really like Rainn Wilson's podcast, Radio Rental, even though he doesn't have new episodes every week like I wish he would. But that Radio Rental also is a podcast that will make you feel really, really weird. Because it's like, yeah, just go listen to it. I won't get into details. Creepy anime or cartoons? No, I'm sorry. I don't watch anime and I hate most cartoons. I don't watch any animated movies or anything like that. You can ask anybody who knows me. I liked Up, but that's about it. Like any other animated movie, I can't sit through it. I get really bored. Any creepy stories from your area? Yeah, but not ones that I know specifically, but I really enjoy going to ghost tours in Seattle. Pioneer Square has some really haunted, creepy stories in it. And it's fun. You go with a tour guide who dresses up with this, and then you go like outside and you actually get to go into a lot of the haunted places and do a little bit of ghost hunting with them in a way. And like you get to go into the bars and to the rooms where people and hear stories about little kids and like what happens to people, like what people frequently report in that area. So you can go back and see if you experience it yourself. I really enjoy stuff like that. Even as a skeptic, I almost feel like I enjoy it more as a skeptic because I don't know, it's very fascinating. A couple people asked, do you like cryptids or other lore? Yeah, I think Mothman is interesting, but I'm just not super into that kind of thing. Just because I don't think any of them could be real. There's just not enough interest, or there's just not enough mystery in those stories for me to be truly fascinated in them. I like kind of hearing about it, but I don't seek them out or really deep dive into them. Somebody asked, will you ever cover the death by water tank? And I'm assuming they mean Elisa Lam, and the answer is no. It's been done so much over and over again, and I don't feel like there's a way to tell that story without being exploitative. Probably said that word. Is that how you say that? Exploitative, whatever. You know what I mean. I can't tell that story respectfully, in my opinion. I think it's just, I don't like how glorified that story is when it was just mental illness. Like, what's the mystery? Most disturbing book you've ever read? Yes, The Troop by Nick Cutter, hands down. I think that book is an abomination. It's really good, but it's absolutely disgusting. What type of video do you like making the most? Like I said earlier, nostalgia-y things. So like the evil sticks that I did the video on. I love videos that make people go like, oh yeah, I remember that. That really creeped me out as a kid. Those are my favorite. Those aren't like my favorite videos in general, but they're definitely the most fun to make. Any similar YouTube channels to yours that you'd recommend that are lesser known? Yes, I really like Night Crimes videos. I think he makes very good quality videos and he's very respectful to the victims as well. I've collabed with the Internet Investigator way back when. Her channel's really good. I also really liked Plagued Moth. I think he's pretty underrated, but he focuses more on intense gore, and of course he doesn't show it in the videos, but he talks about the more kind of like intense gore videos. And I can't binge his channel just because that's a lot of like really intense gore discussion, but he does really good videos as well. And I think he's underrated because all of his videos get demonetized. He doesn't have ads on like any of his video because he can't. And so I think it's really cool of him to keep making content and basically depend on his Patreon and sponsors to make his living, which I'm sure he does okay, but it's just like, I really respect that he still does it without any AdSense help. Did you always want to do YouTube or did you have other aspirations? I addressed this in, a lot of people asked this similar thing. I addressed this in the 10K, but kind of briefly. I was an executive assistant, and that's probably what I would be doing right now if YouTube hadn't worked out. Biggest reason to start YouTube, again, see the 10K, I went into that there. Funny, creepy story that you would love to do a video about. One that's like not dark. Yes, the glitter mystery, which I won't get into details, but it's pretty funny story and it's pretty interesting. If you can go to Reddit if you're interested, or you can wait for me to make a video about it, because I'm sure I will someday. But yeah, it's a glitter mystery. It's a big internet mystery that nobody knows the answer to. It's very interesting. Any theories on the afterlife or the meaning of existence? Or the meaning of existence? I assume you're an atheist or agnostic. Yeah, I call myself like 90% atheist, 10% agnostic. I think the meaning of existence personally, I think there is no meaning. That's my personal take. For me, that's okay. As for an afterlife, I don't know. Look up Alan Watts' The Real You on YouTube and watch like the first video that comes up. And that's about what I think about the afterlife. Like, that'll answer your question. Most terrifying story that you came across. A couple of people asked kind of like this, like the story that haunts you, or you started research on it, but you had to stop. I answered this in the 10K, but it's not so much terrifying, but it's something that made me really, really sick. And that was a story called Daisy's Destruction. And if you know, you know. If you don't know and you want to look it up on your own risk, because again, one of those things where it just amazed me that I didn't really realize true monsters could exist in humans until I read about that one. And I was gonna make a video about it and I stopped. I could not get through the research because it was so sickening. Did you watch The Night Stalker on Netflix? No, I haven't, but several people have told me I should, so maybe I should. What do you like doing on Halloween? I watch Halloween Town. Yes, the Disney Channel original movie, Halloween Town, every year in the afternoon. I just think that movie is like, gets you into the spirit. It's so cute. It's got really good aesthetic. You just want to be there. And then often at night with my family, we'll watch Rocky Horror Picture Show or Young Frankenstein or some kind of Halloween themed movie. I'll get dressed up. I have a few costumes that I repeat, and I'll get dressed up for a video. I'll probably do that this year as well, or I will have a party. But I don't usually have a party, especially with COVID and everything. Honestly, I just love having an excuse to eat a ton of candy. I like to buy like a ton of Reese's and Kit Kats and stuff, and I like to just watch movies with my mom and eat those. Like, I think that's a good excuse to do those. We don't get trick-or-treaters, so that part, sadly, I think that's a really fun part of Halloween, but we don't live in an area that gets trick-or-treaters, so. Do you think there's any real crimes that have been falsely labeled as ARGs? I thought that was a really interesting question. I doubt it. I feel like I don't think criminals want to put their crimes out there and document their crimes like that. Like, if they do, I think that would be really stupid. So I personally doubt it, but on the other hand, I guess we'll never know. Any gore or disturbing video that traumatized you? Yeah, watching the entire Daniel Shaver video for the last video that I made, the Can't Look Away episode 2. Watching that was more disturbing than most gore videos I've seen, and it's not that gory. It's just so upsetting. Pretty much any police brutality videos, like, whew, make me very, very angry. Favorite conspiracy theory? One of my top patrons asked me this as their customized video, so I'm not gonna say what my real favorite is. I'll tell you my, because I don't know, I just feel like since that person like actually paid me for that kind of content, so I don't wanna like tell it to everybody. I'll tell you my second favorite, which is that we somehow live in a simulation and the glitch in the matrices prove that. I think that's a really interesting theory because nobody can disprove it. I know that goes against science, but I think that's interesting. Has there ever been a video you didn't post as it got too real for you, or there were developments in the story that you didn't want to cover? And have you seen anything that you didn't want to make a video about because you didn't want to give the criminal the satisfaction? Yeah, I seriously considered covering Gabby Petito, but I even filmed a video, but it was just, the story was developing too fast that I deleted it. And it also just felt I just felt weird doing it when the case is still open and being investigated. I just wasn't able to put it in a way that was respectful enough to what was going on. So I trashed that one. And as for your second question, Probably not, just because I usually steer away from serial killer or really notorious cases like that, just because I feel like it's hard to do those kind of cases without glorifying the perpetrator. And like, I don't know, it's hard to do videos like that. So I don't think I really make those to begin with, because it's just too hard to focus on the victims. When they're so notorious, everybody's just interested in the psychology of the killer, which is fine for other people to make those videos. But for me personally to cover it, it just feels kind of weird. Have you ever had a paranormal experience? Nope. Not truly. Are you gonna do any special video for Halloween or in October? Yes, I will tell you guys right here, right now, anybody watching through this video, I am planning the last week of October to do a 7 videos in 7 days, kind of like Vlogmas, except for Halloween, and only 7 videos in 7 days. That's my plan right now. We will see if I can pull it off. I think it would be super fun, but that is my plan the week before Halloween. Any fandoms that you're in? No, I enjoy a lot of stuff, but I'm not officially in any fandoms that I identify with. How's your day so far? Great. Thank you for asking. What's the best advice that you've ever heard? Hands down, when I was at a convention with some of my friends when I was like 18 or 19, I was having a really bad time and I was texting my parents, and hands down the best advice I've ever gotten. My dad texted me and he said, quote, "When life gives you lemons, make lemonade." Sounds trite, but that's the difference between happy and bitter people. And I think about that all the time. Every time I'm in a rut, that helps me. I don't know. It just helps me like just realize it's just not that bad. Worst ARG you've ever seen, as in badly made, I'm guessing. I'm not gonna answer that just because I don't want to trash anybody's ARG. But I will say just anything that's lazy, anything that there's not planning and forethought in, anyone that's just trying to get views, but there's like no storyline. I feel like there's a lot of those. How long have you been into horror? Since my late teens, but I didn't really get super into it until like my early mid-20s, and I am just turned 30 this year. You look a lot like Lucy Dacus. I think I'm saying that right. Are you aware of this? I had no clue who that was when I read your question, but I looked it up and holy crap, you're right. I totally look like her, or she looks like me. I don't know which one of us is older. First time that somebody's actually told me I look like some sort of other person or celebrity, and I actually agreed with them. Wow. I actually do think we look a lot alike. Do you know your MBTI or enneagram type? No, I'm not interested in personality tests. Personally, there's nothing wrong with them. I'm just not interested in them. I just don't really care. No hate if you're interested in it, it's just not my thing, so no, I don't know. What the dog doing? If you mean what my dog is doing, she's sleeping and pretending like I'm not actually doing this. Do you take video requests? Yeah, you can email me. That's probably the best way to submit it. I'm really bad at checking my DMs, although I try. I happily take requests, and I do sometimes make video on it, but I can't promise you I'll make a video on it because it has to be a good fit for my channel and what I want to do, you know? But yeah, if it piques my interest, I have before. Someone asked, are you LGBTQ+? No, I am a straight, white, cis woman. Pretty uninteresting answer there, sorry. Did Qanon begin as an ARG? Do the early stages pre-Facebook of it look like an ARG usually looks? Before it became a Facebook grandparent thing, it was on channels favored by young guys who are pretty sophisticated users of technology. I understand if you don't want to talk about it since it might be politically toxic. Since I learned about ARGs from you, I have learned to see the characteristics a little bit. I thought maybe you could enlighten us. I'm sorry, I cannot enlighten you. I don't engage with QAnon at all. I have to say, it does kind of, it kind of sounds like a conspiracy theory within a conspiracy theory, though, to think it was an ARG. I highly doubt it. I think it's just, I think all conspiracies like that are just people that feel really powerless and scared, and so they feel like they need to find some sort of answer, whether it harms people such as anti-vaxxers or not. If you could answer any mystery, what would you choose? So I do feel like this is different than an unsolved case. But a mystery, the Oakville Blobs made a video about that, or John Benet Ramsey. If I could just like have the answer to that, that would be cool. Do I have a boyfriend or girlfriend? They asked a bunch of questions, but a lot of them I already answered. Nope, totally single. Just focused on YouTube right now. I'm really scared to date because of COVID and being immune compromised as I am. I'm trying to navigate that. So I'm really, really scared to date, but I am working on trying to not be so scared to date. Favorite Edgar Allan Poe piece? I don't read Edgar Allan Poe, sorry. Author that you love and read everything that they put out? Gillian, I think that's how you say her name, Gillian Flynn. She wrote Gone Girl, she wrote Sharp Objects, and she wrote Dark Places. And I have also another short story. I've read all of those books. I've watched all of the movies. I love her storytelling. Hannah says, what's your 5-year plan? Hello, fellow Hannah. A couple other people asked this similar question. I'm hoping to just make a career out of YouTube. I think that would be amazing if I was still doing this in 5 years. That would be exciting. Otherwise, non-career related, I'd really love to be married and have maybe a kid on the way, or already have at least my first kid. I've always, I'm really open about that. I've always really, really wanted to be a mom. Ask anybody since I was a kid, I was a mom. I've worked in daycare and I absolutely love children. So obviously, since I'm single, I'm nowhere close to that, but I'm hoping that I will at least be on that path. The Cringy Kids asked, who are you? And you must be new here. Hey, hi, hello, welcome. I'm assuming that this random post showed up on your feed when you're not subscribed to me. So thanks for commenting. Do you have plans beyond YouTube, or are you happy with where you're at? No. Just YouTube for now while I'm establishing that and getting used to it. I've always really wanted to be a podcaster. I wanted to do podcasting before I even considered YouTube, but I'm unwilling to do podcasting unless I was able to produce a really, really high quality product. I'd want to be a scripted, planned, serious, good podcast with a very specific niche or stories that I would tell. So maybe someday once I can get my stuff together. But do you have friends interested in the topics you cover on your channel? My friends hate this stuff. Actually, yes, my best friend and I watch all horror movies. She has a very high threshold for being scared like I do. So we watch lots of horror movies together. So that's really fun. We also share podcasts and creepy books with each other. So actually, yeah, my closest friend really does love it. My sister too, she's also really into that kind of stuff, and she's watched my channel from day one. Yeah, I actually do have some people that like it. If you could make an ARG and had any budget for it, what would you do? Oh, I would base my ARG off of me performing the elevator ritual and actually getting stuck in an alternate dimension. But I'd hire actors. I'd hire an actress to be the creepy woman in the elevator. And then I'd hire get set design and stuff to make it really realistic when I get to the alternate dimension. Movie quality if I had the budget for it. I think I would do something like that. And I think it'd be cool to have codes that people need to figure out in order to help me move forward in the story, make it really, really interactive. How do you find content? Do you browse key phrases or keep up with the news? Yeah, all of the above. I have lots and lots of different ways to find content. I'm not really gonna go into detail just because I feel like the way I find content is part of the keeping the way I find content mysterious is kind of part of the fun of my videos. I don't know. I just feel like I don't want to share too many details about that. I have my ways. What's the darkest case that you've ever covered on your YouTube channel? The Dubrovnik maniacs, hands down. That was such an upsetting case to discuss. There's real video, and I've heard the audio of the death videos that they made. Oh God. Would you stream your video research process on Twitter? Not Twitter, Twitch. Probably not. I don't think that would be interesting to a lot of people, although I'm flattered that you would want to watch me do research for a video. That's very sweet of you, but trust me, it's not that exciting. I sit at my computer for hours and type stuff and get distracted a lot. What's your favorite creepypasta? My favorite question of all time. Normal porn for normal people. That one, I finished listening to it on a podcast, and that one creeped me out. That one really creeped me out. The other one I really like that I think is really underrated is Mr. Widemouth. That is about, it's like about a little evil creature. And I think that one was so clever and different from a lot of the creepypastas and way underrated. What do you wish you could unsee or unread? Kind of answered this. Anything involving animal cruelty. I wish I didn't even know that it existed. I wish it didn't exist, but second to that, I wish I just didn't know about any of it. Do you like garlic bread? Who doesn't? I don't trust you if you don't like garlic bread. What's your opinion on the ethics of true crime? That's a really good question. So this one's going to be a little bit longer of an answer, obviously. That's a really hard question because there is a lot of debate now going on if it exploits victims, talking about true crime. And my answer to that, for me personally, I've definitely changed the way I cover true crime. I feel like even in the past few months thinking about that, I have tried to focus my, shift my focus from the perpetrators more to the victim experience and try to empathize as much as I can with that and also make the perpetrator just look really stupid. I like when we glorify the like mastermind of the perpetrators and how they did this. It was so clever. They did this because they wanted to be known, or they gave themselves a nickname. And I like to just make them look really pathetic and really stupid because they are. And build up, talk about the victim more, like try to include what they were like and their family and that kind of stuff. Not saying that I am the beacon of goodness when covering true crime. I'm totally not. But I just, because of that ethics discussion that's come up, I feel like I have changed the way that I talk about it a little bit. I guess for me though, like if you're going to talk about YouTubers and podcasts and debate that they shouldn't cover true crime, then we have to hold the news and the documentaries and Netflix to that same standard. Because they're making way more money than any of us off of people's stories, right? The news is more exploitive than anybody. Like they prey off of making the details of the story just like as terrible as possible. So I just think it's unfair that we are getting really mad at other media, like regular Joes like me, trying to cover these stories when we don't hold Netflix making a whole documentary about Elisa Lam. We don't hold them accountable or get mad at them, you know? Or like their whole documentary on Luca Magnotta was like almost like 90% focused on him and his psychology and what he did, and talked a little bit about the victim, but not that much. So I'm not saying that that makes it right. I'm not saying that that's an excuse. I'm just saying there's so much gray area that it's really hard. I personally don't have a problem with people covering true crime as long as they are respectful to the victims and they don't glorify the perpetrator. I think if something happened to me, I would be okay with people covering my story as long as they didn't victim blame me. And as long as they didn't I guess victim blaming me is the biggest one, but I think I would be fine with it as long as it was, it was helping me be remembered. That is to say, on the other hand, yes, it can exploit people for sure. And I think we need to keep watching it because as it evolves, I think we need to evolve and have those discussions. So yeah, hope that answers your question. Why did you pick the name HannahTheHorrible? I have no freaking clue. I wanted kind of an alliteration. I don't know, maybe it's the MySpace teenager in me, but I was just writing different alliterations down and different ideas down, and I can't remember the other ideas that I had. Oh, I think I thought about calling myself the Rocky Horror Hannah Show or something like that, like a Rocky Horror Picture Show thing, but that one was too much of a tongue twister. And so I just wrote Hannah the Horrible down on paper, and I really liked the way it looked. So I just went with that. Whew, we're almost done, guys. What's your dad's ghost story that you've mentioned a couple times? I can't share that story because I would not be able to do the story justice. I just don't know all the details well enough. I did ask him, and if he's comfortable sharing it, I will film it with him this weekend and add it to the end of this video. But I'll put on text here if it's at the end or not, or what happened with that. I'm not positive he'll want to share it with the world. But if he does, then I will include it. It's a good story. Netflix show or movie recommendations. Probably nothing that you haven't seen. If you haven't seen The Haunting of Hill House, the first season specifically, then you are missing out. The first season of that show is absolutely brilliant. I really liked the Tickled documentary, but I'm not sure if that's on Netflix, but I thought that was one I watched recently. That was nothing like I thought it would be. It was very interesting. The Amanda Knox documentary on Netflix is really good. I thought that one was very good. I definitely think Amanda Knox is innocent. And the Zac Efron Ted Bundy movie, I know there's a lot of controversy around that one. I thought they did it pretty well because they made it successfully very, very creepy without glorifying the violence, without showing any of the victims get hurt or the true violence of it, but it was still really creepy. I thought that was a hard thing to do, and I think they did it well. Even though Ted Bundy is just overdone. Like, let's stop talking about that loser. Biggest irrational fear, spiders, for sure. I am fully aware that they're not dangerous. I don't have poisonous spiders in my area, but I am on the lookout all the time. I'm terrified of spiders. Pre-20th century favorite author. I am not much of a reader, let alone 20th century reader, so I don't really have one, sorry. Are you planning on merch? Yes, not anytime soon, but I want to actually hire a graphic designer and everything to help me with it and make some pretty legit stuff. But yeah, eventually I'll have some t-shirts and sweaters and stuff. I appreciate your interest. And then last, Becky C asked, how tall am I? It's a good note to end with. I'm 5'6". If any other ones came out, if any other questions came today, then I'm sorry. I will try to answer them on a comment or something like that, since as I'm filming this video, that's all the questions that came in. But I think I got to pretty much all of them except the repeat ones, so that's very exciting. And wow, if you are still watching this, why are you here? It's been like an hour. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you again so much for 100K. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram if you want to see my 100K plaque unboxing video. And yeah, I think I'm going to end that here. So thank you so much to my patrons, of course. Deck of Cards, Colin Holmes, Creep Me Out, Alice Paul, Ryan Fenton II, and Samantha RG08. But of course, thank you to everybody. Not possible without you. Okay, bye guys.